Coming up.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids.
God,
And don't we all? And don't we all just want to shake some sense into the kids?
Oh yeah.
We always talk about the boobs, but Beavis hitting the keyboard is
Yeah.
still one of my favorites too.
That's my typing method.
Right?
I felt that was an appropriate visual for the opening, along with all the other weird shit in there with Devo.
Oh man, that's actually good.
Oh shit.
Oh
But
man,
so
I got one
anyway,
for you. I got
what?
one.
You got
for
one?
you. I got
Oh,
one to start
already.
you out with. I already told you this. This weekend. But so check it out. My dad was a big camper. He loved to go camping. That was his big thing, was going camping. So he'd been planning this since like March. I remember it was before Easter, and he planned this camping trip to the point where he'd even driven up to the state park a couple times to find a good spot. And so we go up there, and he wakes us up at like 2 a.m. so that we can go camping. He is just stoked to go camping, and I can tell he's stoked because he's not drinking beer while he's driving down the road. He's drinking whiskey. Well, it is the '80s.
Oh God.
And it is 1980, so and he stops at the gas station, gets us shit. My brother has M80s, and he's got a fuck ton of them that he got up at the Indian reservation. And this was back when they sold M80s year round at the Indian reservations. And we get up there and we pull into the parking lot. We're getting all our stuff out. My brother's down there by the lake, and he's fucking throwing M80s in the water. He's tying like 5 and 6 of them together and lighting them, and just throws them into the water. Basically it's a stick of dynamite. And the water's going off and showering in the air. And my dad's like, "Will you stop that shit?" And he tells us boys, "Okay, unload the truck." And a couple state patrol pull up along with park rangers, and they get out. My dad goes, "What the fuck do these dickheads want?" He goes over there, and then we can hear him arguing with the state patrol and with the park rangers. "I've been planning this for fucking months. My kids have been looking for this month. I'm not leaving because of some stupid shit you made up." So finally, they're like, "You need to leave or we'll beat you with a stick and throw you in the back of our cop car." And so we get in the truck and we head back down off the mountain. It's like early fucking morning. It's cold as shit. And first town he sees with an open tavern, he stops at. He goes, "You boys wait in the truck." He goes stomping inside. My brother's like, "Well, we're going to be here for a while." And my brother's standing out there and he's lighting fucking minis and he's throwing them out in the street. And there's nobody around, right? Nobody's coming out the fact he's throwing fucking M80s in the middle of the street. And I'm reading a comic book, and my brother said something. One of my brothers said something, or something ticked me off, and I looked up, and I was looking right at the mountain when the whole side went boom. And I'm looking, and it's this weird thing. It's like coming toward us, and it's like making all the trees wave down, and there's like fog coming toward us. I'm like, "What is?" And that hits me, and it knocks me out the back of the truck and onto my fucking ass. I'm laying in the street, and I stand up and I look, and it's not even a noise. What hit me was not a noise. It was a physical thing. It felt like like I'd been hit across my entire body with. You ever pillow fought, and like the 8th or 9th time you hit somebody with a pillow, that's pretty much a solid mass of feathers.
Yes.
That's what it felt like. And then it was like this squeeze. And then I'm standing up, and I'm all shaking and my nose is bleeding. My dad walks out. My brother's got a firework in one hand, a lighter in the other. And he walks up behind my brother and just smacks him across the back of the head. He goes, "What the fuck are you doing out here?" And my brother goes, "But Dad," and points up at Mount St. Helens at 8:30 in the morning in May of 1980.
You're not going to believe this, Ralt. My parents were there a month later and saw the trees.
Carnage.
Yeah, they saw the trees sticking literally horizontal into other mountainsides where they had been shot out. Yeah.
Yeah, the sheriff, the state patrol comes up to see everybody in the people that refuse to leave the town because I was born on this mountain. I'm gonna die on this mountain. Well, you goddamn near did. And me and my brothers are sitting in the bar drinking whiskey, and our hands are shaking so bad the glass is clattering. And he's like, "These boys okay?" My dad's like, "They'll be fine." But still, my dad coming out and just pow right across the back of the head. What the hell are you doing out here? And you can see it in my dad's head when he looks at the mountain. He looks at the mountain, looks at my brother, looks at the M80 in my brother's hand, looks at the mountain, looks at my brother, looks at the mountain, looks at my brother. And you can see it in his head. This fucking dumbass. Yeah. And my dad used to say later in life when he'd be laughing about it, he'd tell us, I completely thought that idiot blew up the mountain somehow. But still, 1980, everybody. Yeah, you can tell where I lived. I lived in Washington, right? But still, that was a hell of a thing because ash was out in the front yard. I think it was like 5 inches deep. And all people's vehicles were seizing up. And that was weird. We didn't go to school till like August of next year. Because, they can't move school buses through that shit.
Damn. So was it just homeschool at your own peril?
No, it was throw shit at each other.
Yeah, the way that my geography teacher explained the Mount St. Helens explosion to us was basically it was like a blackhead that just freaking exploded out of some dude's pimple-covered face, and then all the pus came out, which is the magma.
The whole side of the mountain just vanished. I remember when everything cleared up, you could see the mountain had this big chunk taken out of it. But yeah, that was I remember because the rivers were really clogged with ash that year. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, you can look up some of those pictures and looking at them nowadays in black and white and in color, it's not the same as being a kid and riding your bicycle around and that stuff.
I really do feel sorry for today's young generations. We rode around in hazards and shit, and nobody gave a fuck.
I just wore a scarf.
Do you remember the episode of Beavis and Butthead where there's a tornado going through their towns? They decide, hey, let's go bicycle riding.
Yes.
No, I don't, but that does sound like some shit me and my brothers would have done.
To check out all the destruction?
Yeah. That's the kind of shit we would have done. It was just different back then, because, they weren't so much worried about, is they going to scar them for life? It was more like, can they physically survive this?
Yeah.
I don't know. People weren't afraid of everything back then.
No, they weren't. You know what? You know who I blame for it? And I honestly blame them for it?
Lawyers?
The boomers, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
The boomers have devoted so much of the medical infrastructure into keeping them alive for just one more year or keeping them young for just one more year. The ultimate I can remember is in the 90s, there was this Pepsi commercial, and it's a bunch of kids out there playing basketball, and the dad is he's obviously not a Gen Xer. He's obviously, a boomer because the kids are all teenagers. And he guzzles the Pepsi and beats them all at basketball. And the thing is, you're only as young as you feel, Pepsi. And I'm like, yeah, that's the boomers right fucking there.
You're only as young as you feel. Cocaine.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, and they were so afraid of getting hurt that they passed it on. I mean, they didn't give a fuck when we were coming home when our faces busted up from flipping over the end of your bike and face planting into the ground. No, that's your problem. But
that was just normal.
Oh my God, they sneezed twice. They have to run to every specialist.
I was gonna say when I was a kid, I got a couple of stitches, and it was the only time my parents freaked out was when, one time I fell off my bike because I was a moron trying to do a stunt, and I literally landed mouth first into a curb, and my teeth went through my upper lip.
Oh, that's everybody had those.
Yeah, but I had to go get stitches because I nicked a vein, so I was just gushing like a waterfall of blood was coming out of my mouth. But I mean, that was the only time I saw my mom freak, and we had to go to the hospital, and it was literally one stitch. And I went home, but I was happy because I didn't have to go to school for that week because my upper lip was so swollen. It literally hung over my lower lip down towards my chin, and I couldn't talk. which my
Oh,
parents
yeah.
fucking loved because they were just like, oh, good, she's quiet. But for me, I was like, shit, I don't have to go to school for a week. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I mentioned before I was real athletic when I was a teenager. I mean, it's funny, because I played D&D, but then I'm athletic in a Letterman, and one of the things I did was BMX racing back before, what it was pretty much, your huffy fucking bicycles, and I did pretty good. I was pretty good at it, and I was at one race. It was the last race I ever, last race I ever did decently because I got more involved in other things. But I came off the final jump, and it was one of those really big jumps, and I had water at the bottom, right? But I'd been riding this bike hard all day, and I'd made it past semifinals, and this is the finals. This is it, and they mostly rated you on speed, not tricks. Tricks got you a little bit of extra points, but it's not like nowadays where tricks are what make everything. It was all speed. And I get to the top of the hill, and I throw the bike out on the tabletop. That's where you throw it out horizontally. So, and what I didn't know is that I'd been riding it pretty hard, and I'd cracked my forks. And so when I threw it straight out, my front wheel came off.
Oops.
And I remember that split second of seeing the wheel separate and thinking, oh yeah, I'm fucked here. And what do I hear from the crowd? My dad, drunk as ever, yell, "It's gonna hurt!" I hit on the back wheel. I got it down on the back wheel, and the back wheel just caves in, and I bounce across the finish line, still holding onto the bike. I got a foot on one pedal, and like it's the wrong foot on the wrong pedal, and I'm still holding on to one of the handlebars. And I crossed, and I found out I made it by like a second. So and they're telling my dad, well, if he leaves, he can't get his trophy, and he can't get the prize. And my dad looks at me and goes, "So which is it, boy? Are you a winner or a loser?" I got spokes. Literally, he'd use a pair of wire cutters to cut the spokes so they're sticking out of my leg. And my arm's broken. He's like, "So are you a winner or a loser?" Well, what the fuck else do? You stand up there all bleeding. The guy next to me is like a year and a half older than me. He's like, "I can't believe you came up here." I'm like, "My dad will kick my ass if I don't." But I won. And then my dad drives me to the hospital and tells me, "Nothing feels like victory." I'm thinking, yeah, but you're not the one that hit the ground. Oh, God. But, it was weird because that was normal. That was, I mean, yeah, the crowd went gas, but then they all jumped up cheering. You didn't have people screaming. Nowadays, people would start screaming if the kid got up and there's spokes through his leg, and when he takes the first step, he drags the part of the back wheel with him. Nowadays people would scream. Nowadays, they'd be like, "Oh my God, get an ambulance." And they're just telling my dad, yeah, if he wants his prize, he has to go stand on stage. Oh God.
Well, I got one for you,
Okay.
kind of along those lines. And keep in mind, unlike your parents, my parents were, hippie boomers.
Oh yeah.
Part of the anti-war movement, did shit tons of drugs in the 60s, and then the 80s rolled along, and they kind of pretended to be responsible adults and sold out hard, but still voted Democrat. I'm spending my first year in college away from home. Okay.
Right.
I'm being dropped off. My parents have all have moved to Florida. We're no longer where we used to be located, so there's no place for me to go back to, even if I had wanted to. And I was glad to be leaving. My dad drives me and some of my stuff up to San Francisco State University. Move me in, and we're sitting in the car, and he's going to leave soon, and he's just kind of sitting there, and he looks over, and he's like, "This is San Francisco, so I won't be around, and don't get AIDS."
Oh, Jesus.
And that was it. That was the last thing he said to me.
The fuck?
That was the advice, was it? Don't get AIDS.
Don't get AIDS.
I didn't plan on it.
You're in San Francisco. It's still a shithole at this point, but he's worried about don't get AIDS.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Your parents, wow. Just
Jesus.
wow.
I can't imagine that. I mean, I got terrible
not a,
advice.
hey, I'm proud you got this far. Hey, good luck. Not a, I love you. No, don't get AIDS.
What, they just drive off and leave you on the side of the road?
Kinda. And they thought, or my dad really thought he'd told me something really insightful. Like this was some piece of advice that I was going to take to heart.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus. My dad's advice was pay the hook. Don't pay the hooker until after.
Hey, Cat.
Hello.
Hey,
I'm
Cat.
finally free.
Oh,
Yeah, my long ass commute, all 30 feet down the hall. So
Oh man, it was a different weekend, that's for sure.
really,
Oh, it's just one of those weekends when you wake up Monday morning, you go, wait, it's Monday already? What the fuck?
I hate those.
Well, I kind of missed the weekend, so yeah, that
Yeah,
was what happened to me.
yeah,
I slept through most of it.
poor guy.
Yeah.
Chris had friends over, so I had preteens running through the house screaming.
Oh God, I didn't get to sleep till like 6 o'clock this morning. I wake up at like almost 3, and I'm like, where the hell's the day gone? Oh, I don't know, jackass. Maybe you stayed up till 6 a.m. I'm dumb like that. Everybody's like, oh, being a night person affects everything. Shut up.
Exactly.
I like the night thing because, I live in a small town, so nobody knocks on my fucking door. So, I mean, nobody comes up and goes, excuse me, would you like to hear the word of no? My wife's got her religion. I don't need somebody else over here trying to bitch at her that it's not the right religion, because I'll end up throwing them out in the street.
The strange thing is that doesn't happen as much as I thought it would here, but at the same time, it happens more often than not. And what I mean by that is, where I am, it's Mormon town, so the vast majority of people in my town are Mormons. So I'll see them on their bikes, but they don't come and knock on my door. I get the random occasional Jehovah's Witness.
If you tell the Mormons, I'm not interested, please don't come back, they don't.
No, they don't, and they're very polite about it.
Where the Jehovah's Witnesses keep coming back.
Well, there's the wonderful story about my parents when they were still together. They had friends over for a party and adult frolicking. And the next morning, everybody is hungover as shit, and they get the Jehovah's Witnesses coming at the door. And my dad apparently answered the door wearing a robe that was open and nothing else.
Oh,
I've done that before. I did that before just because they knocked on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. And I just got back from the field. I wasn't asleep. I had just pulled in, taken off my uniform. I was about to get in the shower. And I look out the window, it's Jehovah's Witnesses. I just opened the door naked. I'm like, what? That guy screams and they ran off. Yeah, they don't try to do anything. They just leave.
Yep.
But I was just like, what? I mean, God, I was still filthy and gross. It's like, yeah, I haven't had a shower in 3 weeks. So you're in the way of my shower. I'm not going to put anything on. I'm not going to put my robe on because I don't know how. I doubt you guys have gone that long without bathing. We've gone that wrong without bathing. If you rub your arm, you rub your skin, the dead skin peels off in these little round things. I was not getting that on my robe. That was my Snoopy robe.
That's just gross.
Yeah. But it's not like I didn't want to, it's not like I didn't want to shower. It was, I couldn't. I was living in a hole.
So Fizz Chozo says that he recently discovered that Indonesia has McCarthyism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it weren't for the fact they're, I believe, Muslim, that sounds pretty good.
Well, they also, was Indonesia? No, he wasn't stationed there. Did you know that a huge part of the reason that McCarthy lost? No, it wasn't McCarthy. Sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else. Never mind. Completely.
no.
I'm thinking of MacArthur.
Oh, yeah.
But a
Oh,
huge
the
reason that,
general?
yeah. But no, McCarthyism. I don't know. You know, what's sad is we know he was right. The only
Yeah.
place
Mhm.
he fucked up was going after the military.
Yeah, he went after Marshall, which was a really dumb thing to do
It
because
was a
that got
really
Ike
stupid.
pissed.
Well, that you know, we're in the middle of the war fighting against communists, and he's like, "Oh, well, it's the reason why we haven't won the war is there's communists." Man, fuck you. Why don't you get a rifle?
You know that
Yeah.
that pissed off Eisenhower so much Ike punched him.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay,
Are you
you heard about that?
serious?
Yeah.
I did not know about that.
And there was
He
also the bit with the "Have you no shame, sir?"
there was a speaking event where he and Eisenhower were both speaking at the same event, and backstage, because he had been accusing General Marshall, of being a communist who put together the Marshall Plan. The guy was a genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
He
still use that.
apparently grabbed McCarthy by the collar, shook him, and punched him and said, "If you ever say another thing about Marshall, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass and kill you."
Shit.
I've never looked into why he went after Marshall, but a lot I've heard it was like personal. It had something to do with earlier in their lives. Yeah, he got
Sounds about right.
He wanted to replace the generals and upper officers, everybody from like captain and above, with people loyal to basically anti-communism. Like, everybody over there fighting isn't already anti-communism.
I know.
But and he was convinced that he'd be able to win the war in 30 days.
Dude, McCarthy, just stick to Hollywood and universities. That's
Stick
where
to
the
Hollywood
problem
universities. But they steered him into the military. Somebody advised him to go after the military to really score points, and he got fucked.
No, he
But
should
yeah,
have
it
just
turns out
stuck
that
with Hollywood because he was right about every
Oh, yeah.
fucking one of them.
Mm-hmm.
and he was right about the universities.
Yeah. It turned
you-
out
yeah.
after the fact, no matter what anyone says, the KGB files are there. He was right about every fucking one of them.
Yeah.
Same goes for the Rosenbergs. They were guilty.
Oh God, they were
Oh,
guilty
they
as
were
fuck.
beyond guilty.
Well, no,
and the
you still got
their
people to this
reasoning.
day writing books about how they're innocent.
Their reasoning was because they didn't want just America to have the bomb, because they felt it wasn't fair and it unsettled the geopolitical status of the world. And it's like,
That's the excuse they used. I mean,
Yeah.
they were fucking communists. They were thankless fucks who were perfectly happy taking full advantage of their life in New York. But if they hated it so much, they could have just moved to fucking Moscow.
yeah, oh, they never do, you know.
Mhm.
But I mean, the whole thing was just crazy, and yeah, the fact that they haven't McCarthyism doesn't surprise me, because Indonesia had a huge communist problem in the 80s, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They've still got problems over there with communist rebels. I'm talking about the whole Pacific Rim, not just in.
Oh, do you guys, speaking of Hollywood and McCarthyism, do you guys remember a movie with Annette Bening and Robert De Niro where they tried to paint all the communists in Hollywood as victims?
Which
Can't
one?
remember
There
Which
was a
one?
bunch of movies like that.
Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but I remember they made me watch it in high school, my junior year, and talking about how the people of Hollywood were victims because they were just, socialists. And I'm like watching this movie and I was like, this is fucking propaganda. You could tell everybody else in the class too, because this was like 95, 96. We're just like, this movie's fucking dumb, but at least we don't have to sit and listen to a lecture. So yeah, we'll watch your fucking propaganda movie. But yeah, it was based on a true story. Fuck, I'm looking it up right now and I can't find it.
Yeah, the way you said that, I just flashed on the movie Clue, where Tim Curry is talking about how he and his wife were being blackmailed by Mr. Body, and it's like, well, she had friends who were socialists. Well, we all make mistakes.
Because of that movie, I thought I was crazy for years.
Really?
I drove
that's
to Austin and saw it, right? Because they were showing it, and then I went somewhere else and saw it, and then I saw it on videotape, and all three endings were the same, were different. And I kept telling people, I'm telling you, I saw a different ending. And they're like, no, you didn't. They're like, you were drunk when you went to see it. I'm like, no, I wasn't. I actually wasn't drunk that day. And for years, I thought I was just crazy until I looked at the back of the box in the video store and it said there was like 6 or 8 different endings depending on where you were and which movie theater you went to. I was so pissed.
I would like to
Everybody was
see all of those endings. I've only ever seen the mainstream endings.
Yeah, I've only known about 3 endings. So
Yeah.
I just know there was different endings and everybody told me I was crazy.
By the way, the movie is Guilty by Suspicion.
Okay. I'd heard of it. I just never seen it.
I loved it when I was in college. I was in college and I was in a very liberal area. And I'd sit in class, because I took a couple of geopolitical classes because I was interested in how civilization formed. So I was taking my electives were all on how civilizations, how civilizations arose from hunter-gatherer and moved all the way up to what we've got, which you learn a lot of things, like the fact there's a reason why all of the fast food joints are clustered in the same area. It's all based on math. But I'm sitting in this class that's going over, various types of governments. And this girl is over there and she will not shut the fuck up about communism and socialism. And I don't care because I'm in college, and I just want to learn. And this chick won't shut the fuck. She interrupts the instructor to talk for like 30 minutes on socialism. And finally, I just got sick of it one day. I go, how much money did your parents make a year since you've already said that they're paying for you to go here? Oh, well, the combined income of my family is well over $1 million. And I'm like, okay, they're going to come and take their money. And she goes, no, there's a difference between private property and personal property. There won't be any private property under communism, but there'll be personal property. No. So, and I'm like, I couldn't believe this disconnect. And I'm like, have you ever met an actual communist in your life? One from actually one of these communist nations? Oh, well, those people were brainwashed by Western media after the wall went down to believe communism was evil.
Oh, God. Yeah, China was brainwashed by Westerners.
I just asked the teacher if I could sit out of the class because I couldn't stand her. And the teacher was like, no, she's being removed because she's fucking disruptive.
Yes, Owen.
What?
What is it about fucking rich kids that want to stick their heads up the ass of communism?
Oh,
I don't fucking get it.
I'd love to hear the explanation.
My explanation for that is that you look who created it, Marx, and who also popularized it were Lenin and Mao, right? These were all rich kids who never did any real work in their lives. They were all journalism. Their only real job was journalism, usually. And in both Mao and Marx's case, essentially, they were pissed off that Dad wasn't giving them more money.
Actually, no, that was Mao's problem too. He was pissed that Dad's like, no, you got to fucking earn it.
Yeah, and Marx was pissed off the same thing. Marx's dad, Marx came from a very successful family of lawyers and rabbis. And he was pissed off that Big Brother was a rabbi and following in the family business and was the star of the family. Meanwhile, Karl Marx was basically shit. He'd been farting around doing nothing but jerking himself in college, writing self-aggrandizing fantasies in the school paper and the revolutionary paper. And he cooked up this doctrine of, well, basically, I shouldn't have to work and I should have my dad's money because he's rich.
Yeah.
You know how many wealthy people I know that are all communists and Marxists and they all come from super fucking wealthy families?
Oh yeah, always.
A ton.
It's
you
like,
ever meet
what
a poor
the fuck?
communist? Do you ever see one who's willingly communist and poor?
No.
No.
Nowadays, yes. Nowadays, yes, because they're convinced that if communism comes around, they will get luxury communism where they don't have to do anything. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but Reddit did this thing of when the revolutionary comes, what do you plan on doing afterwards? Right?
Oh yeah, this. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, where the one person's like, oh, I'd like to design the uniforms and clothing. Oh, I'd like to write poetry after teaching communism. Oh, I'd like to, and it's all these jobs that didn't exist in Eastern Europe. I mean, and it's stuff that even if they did exist, like, uniform design, that was guys that were like well connected to the party. And if one person didn't like how the uniform made them look, that guy went to the gulag. It's the same people that try to tell you, oh, the gulags had swimming pools and tennis courts, and
Oh,
they weren't
jeez.
actually slave labor areas. You'll actually see them say this. They weren't actually slave labor areas. They were resorts.
God.
Is this like one of those things where like you put on the stupid goggles and you can see these swimming pools and tennis courts, and then you take it off and instead you see a cesspool and a mine, basically?
The opposite of They Live?
Opposite
Yeah,
glasses.
exactly.
I don't know. I talked to a guy after the wall went down that had been a guard out at one of those, and he was like, "They're complete shitholes and terrible, and I'm never gonna forget what it was like." He was like, "It made me glad to be sent to Afghanistan."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I've heard of the full luxury space communism retards. Yeah,
Mhm.
who think that they're going to get Wall-E if communism comes around.
Yeah. And it's
Like,
like,
no.
no, because one of the things they always ignore is those who do not work do not eat. And
Yeah.
each according to his ability, each according to his need. I mean, I knew, God, I worked with guys in like the mill and shit that had gotten out of Eastern Europe after the wall went down, and they were thrilled to work in these shitty fucking mills with like no safety and dim lights because it was better than where they worked.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
Well, I've read accounts of guys in Russia working in fish packing plants where they just slice off their limbs on accident because it was so cold that they were literally frozen. They couldn't feel it when they sliced their limbs off, and they just kept on processing the fish for God knows how long until they dropped.
Well, there at the end, it was okay. We care about output, how many units you put out if you meet your quota. And I remember we were in Eastern Germany for reasons, and we were driving by where this factory was, and there was shit tons of engines sitting on pallets on the ground, exposed to the weather, just whole fields of them. And I asked, "Hey, what is that? Why is that out there rusting?" He goes, "Oh, they met their quotas every month."
Oh, shit.
And well, the tractor factory never picked up the engines.
God.
Oh,
Wait,
gosh.
what? And it's just, can you imagine that in America, driving by and seeing acres of engines just sitting out there, rusting? I mean, that's when you know something. In America, it's like something's really wrong here. But
That's
yeah,
a waste of resources too. They could have used those. So just like you met your quota, now dump them in a field. Go make your next quota.
yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you made your
fucking
quota, go
nuts.
make the next one. It was. I mean, the latter days of the Soviet Union, when you read on it, is absolutely insane.
What was it? We were watching a video on, or several videos on the Soviet Air Force, and just the how each of their different airplanes was developed, and just how many times like it's like, no, it's fine, just push it on through. And it's like,
Yeah.
how the fuck did they not crash and burn more with that mentality? I was like,
Well,
it's it's fine, just duct tape it together, it's fine.
Or how many decisions were made on, well, ours is going to be bigger.
Yes.
yeah. Well, let's not forget that one of the jets used cognac for
Yes.
coolant.
Yes.
Where can I look all this up? Because this sounds fascinating,
It's
and I want to read
everywhere.
about it.
I'll send you one of the channels that we've been watching, because the guy does all of the videos with this slight Russian accent. So it kind of helps with the full immersion.
He's Eastern European.
Is he Eastern European?
Yeah.
Okay, that explains it. And the most recent one that we watched was on the MiG. Well, the MiG, the evolution of the MiG.
Well,
and just
there's lots of mix.
No. The first one where they had the two jet engines, but they're both in the nose.
Yeah.
And
what
just
the fuck?
Yeah, it's just that thing should not have gotten off the ground ever, especially because they put a what caliber gun in the fucking nose where the engines were?
I'm looking up
that right now, but they wanted to outdo the A-10.
Yeah.
So they put a cannon in the nose of this thing just so they could say ours is bigger.
Yeah.
But anytime they fired it, it actually started vibrating the plane apart.
And it made the engines flame out.
Look, I barely know anything about military stuff. Like, I have to go to my kid for that. But even I know putting engines on the nose of a plane or a fucking cannon is stupid.
Well, actually, this particular evolution of the MiG, when they did get it to work, it worked pretty good. It's just this.
I think it might have been a
one
Sukhoi,
was
actually.
it? No, it was the MiG. I
Okay.
remember the MiG because it looked exactly like the tranny mobile from Wipeout.
No, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Do you want to explain that comment?
okay. In the game Wipeout Fusion, which came out for the PS2 long time ago here, it was the first and only. Wipeout is a racing game, but it's futuristic maglev racers. And Wipeout Fusion was the first one where you got to have actual pilots. And the one for one of the vehicles, the vehicle looked like a MiG.
It looked like a MiG-17.
Yeah.
It looked like it had been built from the body of a MiG-17.
And the pilot looked like a transvestite.
No, it was. It wasn't even in question.
It was. In fact, you're reading the description. It's like, yeah, this is a dude in drag driving this thing, which was fine, but it was hilarious. So we called it the tranny mobile,
for lack of having a real name. But
yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at a MiG-17 right now. What an odd-looking plane.
Yeah.
It's
'cause
Russian.
the nose.
Yes.
Well, the MiG jets were good in the 50s.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am not going to lie and say that they weren't equivalent of American jets. They were.
Mm-hmm.
Because, once America got its head stuffed up its ass and figured they couldn't do any better, and, the MiG came along and said, yeah, I can.
Well, what was it? The Sabre jet and the MiG at the time were actually pretty equally matched.
Yeah. And then there was, then starting in the 60s, DARPA was like, we're never letting that happen again. And that's when we get all this stuff. That's like, everybody's always been like, oh, this tank is better than the M1 Abrams. This tank is better than the M1 Abrams. I still love it to this day. I'll watch these channels and they'll be like, oh, this new Russian tank or this new Chinese tank is better than the M1 Abrams. And I was actually on a live stream and I asked guys, so are you talking about M1A1, M1A2, M1A3, or M1A4? And he's like, the M1. And I put, well, that tank's 50 years old and there aren't any anymore.
Yeah.
But they're rating it to a tank that is just been upgraded, and it was designed in like the 60s and 70s and rolled out in the early 80s. And then, right after it rolled out, within like a year, there was a gun upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, oh, it's better than the M1. Well, how? Well, it goes faster. Okay, what about armor? Well, it uses lighter armor and a higher torque engine to go faster. Lighter armor is all I heard. And then it's like, oh, it's got thicker armor. Okay, how fast is it? Well, it's slower and it turns less.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have as big as. Well, okay, fine. Well, somebody come out with one. There hasn't been any major upgrades to tanks since the composite hexagonal armor.
No.
There will be eventually, and it's going to blow everybody away because it's going to be one of those. That was obvious. I do a lot of, because I look at a lot of stuff because I've. In my head, I've got to look at like modern weapon systems and then bring them up after, 8,000 years of warfare and tech advances to, a condition where, tech might as well be magic.
That's cool though that you do that.
I mean, plus
that's how you approach it.
Yeah, I knew a lot of tankers too. And, the A10, the A10 was always good to see coming in close. It's like, you're about to be fucked.
Speaking of tanks, was it the Sherman is the one that they call Death on Wheels? Where like you were, if you got caught in there, there was no way you were going to get out?
I think so.
Okay,
oh God,
I had a friend who was in the Rangers and his tank ran over a IED.
Ooh.
And he's fucked for like his PTSD, like the man, I mean, woof, you know what I mean?
He was probably either in an MRAP or a Bradley, one of the two, because the Shermans.
It was a Bradley.
The Shermans are long gone.
Okay, no, it was the Bradley. I'm sorry. Yeah, Shermans were World War II, right? World War I, World War II?
Yeah, sure. World War II.
Okay. Yeah, because apparently the Bradleys were notorious for being death traps.
Really, because for us they were, well, yeah, I guess they were by the time the War on Terror rolled around, because by then it was, a 20-year-old weapon system. But for us, they were like the best thing ever.
Yeah, this was the war in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Well, their IEDs were not what people think. Everybody just mentally pictures like a pipe bomb. And a friend of mine used to send me pictures because he was with First Cavalry Division, and he was sending me pictures of what they dig up, and it would be like 28-inch artillery rounds all fused together, buried in the road.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
These are thermal barrack rounds that one of them will take out a building.
The stories that he told is that he had problems driving down the road when he came back,
And he saw a
because any
cable.
piece of trash he saw
He'd
triggered
lock
him.
up the brakes. Yeah, he'd lock
Yep.
up the brakes.
And so he didn't like driving because he could see a plastic bag, a grocery bag, bobbing along the road. But for him, that could have meant like, half the freeway was about to blow. So yeah,
The other
like it
thing
fucked
is,
him up bad.
you know how you're driving on the freeway and you'll see the black lines where the road had cracked and they just poured tar in it?
Hmm.
That was a huge trigger for guys I knew. They'd lock up the brakes and like go sideways on the freeway, trying not to hit it.
We had a friend where it was the overpasses on the freeways.
Yeah.
They'd go under the overpass and immediately like do the California slide and jag all the way to the other
Yeah.
side of the freeway, thinking, well, somebody's going to be waiting for me with an RPG on the other side.
I used to give. That's why I used to drive like two of the people to college and back, because I'd pick them up in the morning, drop them off in the afternoon, because they literally couldn't drive because they'd see that shit and just lock up the brakes.
Yeah.
It's a tough old world out there.
Real quick, Ishii is getting serious. He's actually pulling out the encyclopedia of airplanes.
Yeah, damn it! I'm gonna find out what the hell this thing was called.
You have a Jane? Do you have a Jane's, or is it just one of the?
I've got a bunch of them. One of them is a Jane's, I believe.
But
oh yeah, I have a Jane's.
Is it the same encyclopedia that you showed
Oh,
Chris?
Janelle asked if this is the book that we showed Chris.
One of them, yes.
Ishii said one of them, yes.
Okay, then he's dead serious.
What?
We're laughing, but it's fun.
No, we're not laughing at you. I just think it's awesome, because like that's something my kid would do if I asked him a question. Because while you guys were talking about tanks, I started looking up MiGs, because I was like, okay, now I'm interested. But what kept popping up was the imaginary MiG-28 from Top Gun.
Oh.
Which that's a sleek looking ship, but I'm like, yeah, no.
No, I'll send you a couple of channels to start watching. And again, the Rush, the phrase you will learn that the Russians say all the time is "it's fine."
Yeah, that was it.
It's fine.
But politicians say "is fine" and do anyway.
And do anyway. Yes,
that's what he'd say. Unfortunately, is not fine for pilot.
Yeah. Oh dear God! What? There was a plane. There was a flying wing, and which on its own is pretty impressive. But this is Russia. They have to like take everything to 11 in ridiculousness, and so you'd have these gun implements on either sides of the flying wing, and they were open. If you're the poor gunner, there's no glass protecting you from everything. There's nothing protecting you from the wind. It's fucking open.
You're just dead.
Yeah,
you're just dead.
You had these like they said they were heated suits, but they said air quotes, and then like after taking this thing up like 2 or 3 times, they're like, maybe we can't have the gunners like this configuration. So they like repurposed them. They still had gunner turrets, but they were like more protected from the wind. They were still open. They just had like metal shields in the front, and they were slung underneath the wings rather than up on top.
Oh yeah, that makes lots of difference.
And then there was the fact that the gunner turret on the top of the main fuselage had a straight shot into shooting out the cockpit.
Yeah.
Nice.
And nothing really to stop that from happening.
Owen Lister said, hopefully we get a Guyver suit in the future. Actually, do you know what the biggest reason we don't have like loading frames out of Aliens and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Power.
Yeah.
We do not have dense enough power storage. As a matter of fact, the funny thing is I know somebody who was working for procurement on the more R&D side. When the movie Aliens came out, they actually contacted 20th Century Fox and was like, so does that thing actually work, or is it just special effects? And they're like, oh well, it's special effects. It was run by air hoses, and they were like, how much can it actually pick up? And they're like, oh well, barely anything. And they're like, oh, never mind. Because
I heard about that.
Yeah, because the military was like, we need one of those. We need lots of those. I mean, that would have made my job so much easier. What?
You know the one that's really funny? The producers of Get Smart had a visit.
Because of the cone of silence.
Because of the cone of silence.
Oh,
they're like, how did you hear about this? It's like, we made it up. It's funny.
Well, which Bond movie was it where he has that thing in his mouth and he's swimming and it lets him breathe underwater?
Yeah,
Thunderball.
The Navy actually contacted him and went, so how much does this thing cost?
Like, it's a piece of PVZ with some, doodads on it.
It's not real. And apparently the Navy was like, well, we came all the way down here for nothing. They were really mad.
The first time I saw Thunderball and I saw that, one of my dad's hobbies was scuba diving. I'm like, why don't you use that, Dad? And he's like, because it's not real, baby.
Like, no, sorry. We wish. We really wish.
Because I was like, well, do you guys remember? I think it was about 10 years ago. It was when maybe 8 years ago, when the crowdfunding craze started really taking off, or like when it first was getting popular. There was two guys that did the best scam where they said, yeah, we can totally recreate the rebreather from James Bond, and they got like thousands of dollars and then just ran for the hills.
I do remember that one because I think that one came out about the same time as the searching for the Congolese brontosaurus one.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it came out at the same time.
Yeah, people were actually convinced that these two guys who had no skills in engineering or anything were able to create the rebreather from James Bond, so you never had to carry a tank again. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe people fell for that.
I can't.
Actually, no, I take that back. Yeah, I can't believe.
I can't. People fall for the most outrageous shit.
You don't want to think people are that gullible, but
yeah.
God,
you guys got me looking at military planes now. I'm so fascinated.
No, I haven't looked
you're
since
looking
the F-19. Oh, F-7. Well, no, whatever the fuck it was that, didn't fly right.
I really don't think it was a Sukhoi. I really think it was
It's
a MiG.
not a MiG.
It's not a MiG? Okay. Are you sure?
I'll be surprised if I'm wrong.
Well, now there's the challenge. I gotta
Oh,
stake my
we're getting
claim.
serious now.
Yeah,
okay.
Hey, I may not be the plane expert, but damn it.
Well, okay. Now she's been challenged.
Can I change the subject for just real quick?
Go right ahead.
Okay,
It's all
so
good.
speaking of you guys talking about the aliens, the loaders, I found out that James Cameron was the second unit director and also the guy in charge of special effects for Galaxy of Terror. And if you watch that movie, you can see aliens and Terminator in it, like all the back. And so I had no fucking clue. I also didn't realize how many stars were in that movie. Also, the maggot rape scene is very disturbing.
Was this Galaxy of Terror?
Yes. Well, I found out they cut the part out of the movie that explains why the chick was so scared that she got raped by a giant maggot. She was sexually repressed.
by a giant maggot. She had a thing for
And the
maggots,
maggot was
apparently.
phallic. Like, I watched the whole making of. I was like, Jesus, if they would have left that in the movie, it would have been even more frightening. But such a baby-faced Robert Englund. But that was just so cute.
So what happened to Raltz? Did he
Oh
leave?
no, I'm right here. No, I'm right here. What,
So,
you can't hear
but
me?
I didn't know that
What's the
Sid
name of
Haig
that
was also
channel
in
that
that
we
movie. He's
watched?
the guy that gets his arm cut off and his arms turn into the maggots, which end up one of them rapes the chick.
So am I here? Can you hear me now?
I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay.
So yeah, Galaxy of Terra. People watch it. It's great. It's really fucked up. It's like a Harvey Korman classic.
I meant to watch that. It's on my wish list because it looks like fun science fiction movies.
It is.
Oh yeah, it is.
It is.
It's really good.
Well, that and it's like incredibly influential. I mean, did you get into how much James Cameron learned from working on that film?
Yeah, it
Yes,
was.
he worked on that film.
That's how that started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the fact that all this, like a lot of the special effects, because I also found out that he worked on Piranha 2. That's how he met Bill Paxton, because Bill Paxton was up and coming, but he was working on matte paintings with James Cameron. That's how they became best friends. And I just realized like how influential James Cameron is. It's just too bad he's a dick in real life. And now he's a fucking environmentalist and he's obsessed with Pandora. I'm like, why don't you go back and fix Terminator? Like we've all been asking for, please.
I mean, how do you want to fix it? I mean,
I don't like Dark Fate. I don't have the skills that you guys have, but I'm just gonna say what I would have done for Dark Fate is I would have brought Edward Furlong back. But instead of killing off John Connor, I would have had it that he has become a drug addict and an alcoholic from all the PTSD that he's gone through. He has gone off the grid, and his mom needs to find him to train the latest person that's going to be the leader of the rebellion, because John Connor is no longer now the leader because the timeline has changed so much. You never had to kill him off as a kid. It could have been a redemption arc, or even he's now the guy with PTSD, but somebody else is depending on him. Doesn't mean that he's the Kyle Reese, but and you can still
you don't
kill him
understand.
off at the end where he, sacrifices himself to save his protege, and then she becomes the leader of the rebellion. There was no
They
reason
can't
to
do that.
kill him.
Actually, there was. See, your idea is great, and it would definitely have flown, and it would have been a good movie. But you know why they can't do that? Because you will fondly remember him over new diverse Jesus.
Yeah.
Instead, they kill him off, and they tell you, well, the person you like is dead, and he sucked anyway. But here is the new stand-in, random girl. And now she isn't the mother of the future. She is the future.
Okay, yeah, my idea is better. And like I said, I'm not a
Right.
screenwriter.
They have to
You're
get
right.
rid of
It
him.
is the MiG-9.
They have to get rid of him.
Well, it's just bullshit. I would have, even if they, well, I mean, Nick Stahl and Edward Furlong both like have mental illness issues and like went off the grid literally. But it was, my husband watched it. I refused to watch Dark Fate because I found it incredibly insulting, especially after all the other movies we had to suffer through. You know what I mean?
Especially with her going, "I'll be back."
Yeah, like I'm sorry, there was
Bitch, no,
no
you
reason
won't.
to bring Arnold back. There was no reason for her to take over his lines. Like there was so much that they could have done. They never needed Arnold at that point. It could have been carried by Lyndall Hamilton and Edward Furlong. It really could have.
Now, the interesting one that I heard was somebody was like, what would have been really good, and this isn't my idea, but it's a great idea, is, Sarah Connor walks in, and there's, like, a guy made entirely of code sitting there, and he looks and he goes, "Sit, get a drink." And she's, all giving him the side, and he's like, "Yes, I'm Skynet. I don't have much longer before I fade, but, you should have been consider yourself lucky that you had me." And her going, "What?" And him going, "Oh, yeah, what's coming now? He's worse. So, good luck. You'll need it." And just, into the new one. And one thing that always got me about Terminator, and I found this out later, with the exception of the psychological effect, the Terminator exoskeleton, not the Terminator, but the endoskeletons would have had, that is actually the worst design Skynet could have ever picked for a combat robot.
Oh, the T-800?
No, just the skeleton itself.
Oh.
Unless you were like designed by evolution to swim, climb, jump, throw yourself on a bonfire, all that stuff. The bipedal form is not all that efficient. It does a lot of different things, but it doesn't do any of them well. And so it should have created things more
like the hunter killers,
specialized. Yeah, it should have been more specialized.
Well, the T-80s, they were specialized.
Well, originally, the reason it was a skeleton is it had flesh over it, and it was to infiltrate. And then in the second movie, Cameron decided, hey, wait a minute, I'll have them walking around the battlefield as skeletons. And you're like, why?
Well, it'll look cool.
That was what Raltz was saying. The psychological effect fucked with the resistance, because here you have these evil-looking skeletons that are almost indestructible, fucking with the psychology of the people fighting them, because they're based on human form.
See, that's what I liked about Salvation, is the majority of the robots you see in Salvation were not based on human beings.
Yeah, which made sense.
Well, they even showed the T-600s, the ones that had the plastic skin that you could spot from a mile away.
Yeah, when the Terminators were originally just for infiltration, that made sense.
Yeah.
And, in the first film, what do you see? You see the flying hunter killers, and you see the ground-based ones.
The big ones, yeah.
Yeah. Fine.
I always thought that I think part of it is because these movie producers buy into their own press and think they're absolute geniuses when it comes to everything. Absolutely everything. And I mean, when somebody buys into their own press, it's really sad.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it?
Look at Lucas.
Look at Disney.
Look at Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. Oh
I still love that he went and said, oh, if he'd ejected at that speed, it would have killed him. And, I wanted to scream at him, faster than the speed of sound, ejection seats have existed since the 1960s. You moron!
Yeah. Shit.
Okay,
Apparently
here we go.
Somebody didn't watch The Right Stuff.
Here we go. MiG-9.
Yep. It's a MiG-9. And how big is that cannon that's square in the middle of its fucking intakes?
Well, let me put the stats up here for everyone to see, so we know you're not making it up.
Is that a cannon at the top and then guns on the side?
It is it's a 37 millimeter cannon.
Okay.
That was so loud that it deafened the pilot.
Yes.
It made the plane drift backwards every time it fired.
It caused the engines to flame out.
The 223 millimeters aren't going to help.
No.
And they did it because they wanted to have one bigger than us.
Yeah.
So how much ammo do they have?
That was another problem they had, actually. I as far as I know, they never solved that problem because this plane never went into combat.
Didn't they also have a problem with it jamming? And the spent shells sometimes flying back into the engine?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why the A-10, it completely gathers up all the shell casings.
Mm-hmm. No,
oh God, I can just see a piece of brass just slinging right out of the back of that exhaust in the back.
This thing, apparently they, chat out like 12 of them. 9 were actually flight worthy. They used them for an air show, and that was the history of this plane.
and killed a few pilots.
Yeah, and it killed a few pilots in testing. Yeah.
Well, there's a really interesting thing that I've tried to explain to people before. Other countries tell you all about how this plane right here, Russia would tell you this plane right here could, walk on water. It could rescue its pilot if the pilot accidentally ejected. It could probably hold a conversation and tuck you into bed at night. They would just, go all out, But America has, it had the F-111 and the M1 and the Bradley and the B-2. And America's like, this thing's a complete piece of shit. Which, everybody just, if these planes were crap, how was Sputnik a success? Well, because Sputnik was just putting a big round metal ball with a radio transceiver on it and strapping it to a bunch of explosives. Not even commies can fuck that up.
Mm-hmm.
The Sputnik, they beat us. they beat us. I'll admit it. But yeah. Other than that,
I think they beat us with
Killing a dog.
I was gonna say a dog and a monkey.
Yeah, I think they beat us with getting. They beat us getting a man in orbit. But here's the difference. Go down and take a look at the death tolls.
Yeah. Well, they had to cover theirs up. There were so many.
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't Apple recently make a alternate history where the USSR gets to the moon first? So the United States' big thing is they send women to the moon first instead, and then Mars.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Can you hear my sarcasm? Fucking hate that show.
You know,
I hate that show because I had family who worked in the space program. Fuck that show.
Mm-hmm.
It's insulting to my family.
The worst part is you try to explain to people why men were preferable to go to space, and the first thing you get yelled at is sexism.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest one is, no offense to the ladies, but guys' plumbing is a lot easier to keep under control than women's.
It's like, look,
no offense to the ladies, women weren't lining up to do it.
Yeah.
Women weren't like, yeah, put me on top of the exploding thing.
Women weren't lining up to do it, and on top of that, biology's a bitch. So
I mean, the fact was, you had American pilots going, yeah, it might kill me, but if I get to the moon.
Yeah.
Didn't Chuck Yeager turn it down and say he didn't want to be spam in a can? That was like his big quote.
I think so.
And then he regretted it.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Oh yeah, I love the story about how they were getting, either they had landed or they were coming in on the landing, and Armstrong was all trying to think of something to say that would be, really good for the history books. And the pilot looked at him and said, if you had any balls, you'd go out there and you'd look around, and then you'd go, oh my God, what is that? And then you'd scream really loud and turn off your radio for like 20 minutes.
That.
Yeah. I always thought that was hilarious.
That shit should have happened. I'm sorry.
And we never went back again.
What? We went back a couple more times, right?
No, yeah.
So say, wait, am I remembering history wrong?
No,
but that would have been fucking great. You know how many people, and okay, I would have loved that in history class. I mean, that's fucking awesome. At least they had a sense of humor about it.
But yeah,
well, it would have been like the second War of the Worlds hoax,
Yeah. Well, we're going back to the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the Artemis.
This is what happens when you get women in the driver's seat. They can't seem to find the damn thing or launch.
I was gonna say, you like how they're naming it the Artemis program? Just
well, it's
like
supposed to be an all-female crew. That's why.
Yeah. Oh fuck! You know what? I don't care if a vagina lands on the moon. I really don't.
Okay, look, I've got a shirt from my dad. It's one of the things that I took as his effects, because it was my favorite shirt, and I was so happy he had it. He had been part of a mission where they were going to put probes on the moon, but somebody, I don't know who, but somebody confused meters and miles and center punched the probe into Mars. My dad was on that thing, and he's got a T-shirt that says hit the planet, win a prize. And the second I heard about Artemis and how it was going to be all female, I'm like, can I get a shirt for that too?
Oh God, yeah.
Are they gonna get lost and have to ask for directions on the way?
I don't have the heart to tell my child that it's probably never going to happen, because he gets all excited about the Artemis program. And
so what do you think would happen if they actually did put, 6 women into that can for 10 days?
It's going to stink like hell, that's for sure.
I was going to say, should we place bets how many are going to actually walk off?
They can make
I'm leaving.
Body bags they're going to need.
I think they can make it 10 days. I think they can. I'm going to give them credit. I will give credit with due. These are not your average women off the street. These are highly trained professionals. And all of their mental illnesses have been accounted for, because I'm not bagging on them, but, everybody who does these programs has, all kinds of stuff wrong with them. But I think they're going to make it.
I can't have your faith, because I know the age group they're sending up there.
No, I'm thinking of the fact that the female astronauts haven't had a good track record.
No,
but
they don't.
once they get back, that's gonna be when it's funny.
Because there was the female astronaut was responsible for the first crime in space.
Yes.
Wait,
let's
what?
not forget when one of them got mad about the way the bathrooms were, so she drilled a hole in the hull of the fucking space station so that she could use the other bathroom.
Oh shit! I
What
didn't know
the
that.
fuck?
Or let's not forget the one that got mad at somebody, so she
Yeah.
wore a diaper so she could drive 24 hours straight without.
Oh, I
getting
remember
Suffering.
that.
And she was on amphetamines too.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
she
a
was
Somebody,
tweaking
taser.
out.
somebody
Uh,
mentioned the AK-47 versus the M16. The M16 got a really bad rap because during testing they used one type of ammunition, and when it went into production they used a different type of ammunition, and it led to extensive
Ooh.
carbon buildup really fast. And they didn't solve that until the 1980s, when they noticed that the guys that took, guys that were permitted to take their M16s to like the rod and gun and use civilian ammo weren't getting the jamming problems. And a couple armors noticed that the carbon buildup was different. It wasn't sticky. It was more dry. They changed the ammo, and the M16, A2, and A1 problems went right away. They were gone.
McNamara is to
Nice.
blame.
Yeah,
Oh, fuck
what?
McNamara.
Yeah.
McNamara is to blame for a lot of that.
With his
Okay,
fucking, with his
Owen's
little
asking
fucking
a good
logbook.
question, guys.
What?
What
What
if
if
most of the female?
astronauts were on their period in space? That would be awkward. Remember, women cycle together when they're in a group.
They do.
I'm just imagining the blood particles.
That's what I'm thinking. The blood clots floating.
Yeah.
The whole
Well,
thing,
the other thing
would be full
I was
of
also going to
blood.
say, the other thing I was going to say about why I don't have a lot of faith in these women because of quota hires is that women have had a bad track record in space. Also, the Navy, I know at least, and the Air Force have had a bad track record with quota hiring fighter pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I
That
do
women who
know.
really should not be in the cockpit.
Like the one who strapped on a diaper and chugged some amphetamines. So
I do know that one of the worst crashes in the last 30 years for the Navy was mainly caused because two female officers weren't speaking to one another.
I did hear
Are
about
you
that.
serious?
And
Are you
because
fucking
of
serious?
no, it damaged a like $200 million warship
Mhm.
because
That
they
comes
didn't
out
want
of
to
my
speak to each other.
wallet.
They didn't want to speak to each other. They were mad at each other. And then somebody else, another woman, she was on the outs, and when she made the suggestion, hey, since our radar array and our seeking radar is kind of jammed up, why don't we put two privates out? Why don't we put two seamen out there on the bow, with lights to keep track of it? And she was like, I don't take suggestions from you.
Are
And
you fucking
6
kidding me?
hours
This is
later,
the military we're talking about. And she threw a
Yeah.
hissy fit. Was she dragged in front of superior officers for her shit behavior?
she was
Please.
promoted.
Are you? Sorry.
Hell,
I
there
know
was even
I've
a-
never been in the military, but that pisses me off.
She was
Sometimes
promoted.
that is the worst thing you can do is you promote them out of being in the field so they drive a desk for the rest of their lives.
Oh, no. She was promoted to captain of her own ship.
Oh, fuck me.
She was later removed after a year-long investigation and quoted as one of the most toxic leaders the U.S. Navy had in its entire history. She treated a bunch of the male sailors like her own private harem.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Ew.
I'm just saying that women have not had a good track record on this, and I'm going to apologize to every female listener out there. I've never had a good female boss. I'm just being honest with you. I've had bad male bosses, but I've also had good ones. I've worked for a lot of females. Never had a good one. They're all psycho. All of them.
I can tell a joke, and my wife will nod along right with me on this show. Probably laugh about it. You want to know the number one thing that'll get you killed in the military?
Women.
A female butter bar with a pistol, a compass, and a plan.
Oh shit.
You're gonna die.
Yep.
Baby.
Again,
A
that's one of
female
those
butter
things.
bar with a compass, a map, a pistol, and a plan.
I am
My wife goes, you're gonna die.
Of all of the stories, actually in Generation Kill, Ford Recon talking about how you'd get people who'd call in these airstrikes and they were just a little too close to danger close on that shit.
I served under a lot of excellent female officers and female NCOs. I mean, some of them were positive. They were amazing leaders. They were able to lead brain damaged, drunken retards in the right direction.
Mhm.
But And no, the worst leaders I had were not female. The worst leaders I had were men. To include, somebody that secretly believed that half of the company were werewolves and were planning on blowing us up. That's a long story. But some of the most standout bad ones were female, including the infamous doing like Nightland Nav and getting in an argument and being like, ma'am, we don't go east from here. I say we go east. I'm like, ma'am, if we go east, we're going to be in so little trouble. That's an artillery impact range. And she went, I know what I'm talking about. I went to West Point. You're a high school dropout.
Oh,
I went,
Oh,
ma'am, I'm going west. I'm going west back to the road. I know where we are. I'm going east. And that fucking dumb bitch led 8 men onto an artillery impact range about 5 minutes before the artillery started their night fire.
Oh shit.
Luckily, nobody was killed. And who did she try to blame? Me.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, he took 2/3 of the men and walked away from me. And if he had stayed with me, he might have been able to convince me not to go there. I was like, I told her 3 times my duty is done.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you didn't try hard enough. I said, I told you it was an artillery impact range. Well, how was I supposed to know? Because I told you.
Because I told you, you dumb bitch.
Well, am I supposed to take the word of a 19-year-old?
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Ugh.
They were always the one, very few males threw my education in my face. Very few males threw my age in my face. Very few, not one male ever threw my looks in my face. But the female upper NCOs and the female NCOs and the female officers, every fucking time. Oh, let's not forget. Insulted a woman, be prepared for one of the following. You like to put your dick in other men. You have a small dick. You don't sleep with women. It never failed. That's like I startled the fuck out of a female officer. She was all like, "Oh, what's with all the hua bullshit? What, your dick doesn't work, right?" I got up and went in and filed sexual harassment charges against her because I was just tired of her shit.
Shit.
It scared the fuck out of her. Well, I was tired of her shit. She was always busting on my men. She was all like, "Oh, what's with all the weightlifting? Compensating a little and stuff like that."
Oh
And I'm like,
God,
"No,
really?
my men are pumping iron so we can stay in shape because we've got 2 million artillery rounds coming." Oh, what's with the drinking and wandering around with your girlfriends like you're hot shit? Are you compensating for something? And the other thing is, this woman looked like it looked like somebody hit the Wicked Witch in the face with a frying pan.
Of course.
I mean, and she smelled bad. She smelled like spoiled milk.
Oh
Ew.
God.
That sounds like a yeast infection to me.
I hate that. And then, she was all like, you filed sexual harassment charges against me? I'm like, you keep asking me about my dick. It creeps me out. Oh, did I insult your dick and that's why you did it? So I went back and filed another charge.
Nice.
Apparently she couldn't learn her lesson the first time.
Oh God, and she eventually fucked up. She eventually fucked up big time.
What'd you do?
So we're doing practice on chemical decontamination. And with chemical contamination, you do face wipes after you take your mask off. And the practice ones are blue. And they have basically wet wipes in them. The real ones are green. And in them, they have the same material for a wet wipe, but dipped in something called DS2. DS2 can wipe away chemical agents. So, this is not good stuff.
No.
And after you use it, you're supposed to immediately wash your face. Well, we're sitting there. It's training day, and she's mad because she has to teach the enlisted. This is her punishment for talking about everybody's dick. And she's glaring at me the whole time, and she's teaching the enlisted how to use it. And she brings out the package. Everybody else gets out their practice ones, and the guy next to me goes, "Ma'am, you don't want to use those." And she goes, "I know what I'm doing. I'm an officer."
Oh God.
And he goes, "Ma'am, you don't want to use your packets." And she's like, "Shut up." And I just nudged him. And she opens them up. And she started deconning her face. Now, when you decon, you brush from top to bottom so it all comes off your face. She did what you're not supposed to do, and they teach you not to do this in basic training. She started rubbing little circles.
Well, she's doing it like she's washing her face at night, like she's taking off her makeup.
Yes, and all that does is grind in fallout and chemical agent into your skin. But it takes about 15 seconds for the pain to register.
Oh God.
She used the live stuff.
Jeez.
We never saw her again. She never came back. But she's not the only one. We had a male officer do the exact same thing. That was just funny as shit. He
Yeah,
came. It
but
was weird though. He came back.
well, he wasn't a bitch.
Oh man.
It gets crazy. And you try to explain these things to people, and people are like, well, that sounds sexist. I'm like, you know what? If you want the story or not, because this is what happened. No,
I'm going to repeat. I think that the Israelis had it right with not having mixed gender forces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really just separate the sexes. It seemed to have worked for them.
well, some things women excel at. Supply.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff they excel at. Some of them are better than the guys at it. But some of it, no. I mean, if you want the truth, if you gave me a choice between a male medic and a female medic, I'd probably take a female. I don't know why. That's probably my own biases, though.
Well, to be honest, there's also the psychological component. You want a male surgeon because it's business time. He's going to get there and get the job done. The nurse is going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
There's also different things that you get out of a female nurse, like coming out of surgery, and you're slowly phasing back in and out of consciousness, and you can hear what two middle-aged women in the room talking. Oh, so who's your date? Oh, well, he's a tennis player. Well, who's your? I've got a good Irish boy. What's he look like down there? It's like
I'm awake.
they're looking at my junk while
Oh man.
They kept referring to us as their dates.
Oh God. Oh God. That's
Never saw these people. I just heard their voices.
I had to go in for a surgery, and the nurse dared me to have somebody write "Good morning" right above my pubic line. In Sharpie.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And so when they open it up to my abdomen, because they're gonna fix a problem with my appendix removal. They were gonna repair it. And there it says "Good morning" right there. And apparently everybody busted up laughing.
Yeah, that reminds me of that song that they'd play on Dr. Demento, The Scotsman. Did any of you know the song?
No.
The guy passes out drunk under a tree, and two girls find him, and they're like, I wonder if what they say about Scotsman is true. So they peek under his kilt, see his dick, and tie a little blue ribbon around it.
Okay, no, I know what you're talking about.
And he wakes up the next morning and he looks at it and he says, lad, I don't know where you've been, but I see you won first prize.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Laddie, I don't know where you've been, but you won first prize. Oh man. And we get on topics like this, and if you're back to writing minute, because I'm all hyped up today. People, when they make characters anymore, you don't have characters that do shit that normal people have happen. Well, people that go out and do stuff like are in books that happen to them, because you don't read about that anymore.
Unfortunately, no. But most young authors haven't done anything.
Don't get me started on this. I'll be yelling for the next hour.
That's a bad thing.
I think I talked to Ishi one time about this off the show. I think it was him. But the problem with the majority of books and movies, from my point of view, is none of these people have ever done anything in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually asked somebody one time, because they were writing, and I actually asked them, have you ever actually been punched in the face really hard? And they went, oh, no, I'd never get in a fight. I'm like, but you're writing action scenes where these guys are getting punched in the face and it's not doing anything. Well, I know what I'm doing. Why? Well, my uncle takes karate. I'm like, that's your uncle. Have you ever been punched? This is face to face. I'm like, have you ever actually been punched in the face? And he's like, no, why would I? And it's like, you can't write about somebody getting punched in the face if you've never been punched in the face.
No.
No, I have to ask a question, Ralt, since you would probably know. I've never been punched in the face, but when I was in high school, a friend and I were headbanging to Metallica, and literally at full force, we both rammed our heads into each other. of the
It's
foreheads.
close.
And my eyes started watering, my vision blurred, I went dizzy, I got nauseous, I didn't know where the fuck I
You got a
was.
concussion.
Okay.
They gave you a concussion. That's a brain
Oh, he
bruise.
had it
Oh
too. They had
shit.
to send us because okay, we were in drama class and we're headbanging. They both had to send us to the nurse because we were so fucked in the head from headbanging like morons because we were in drama class and listening to Ride the Lightning by
Yeah,
Metallica.
you two
And
gave each
yeah,
other
we were
concussions.
headbanging and yeah, I mean, I felt like shit for 2 days afterwards. So, is that
Congratulations on the brain damage.
right? Explains a
Shit.
lot, doesn't it?
No, that's not like getting punched in the face.
Okay, I was just curious because that's probably the worst I've ever felt, like being hit in the head.
Oh man.
Yeah. Never been punched in the face, but I have been hit in the head by a horse.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, and I'm actually shocked I didn't black out because I did see stars and I nearly went down, but I was able to catch myself on another horse. But God, that animal hated me. So it's not getting punched in the face, but I've heard from some people that it's similar. So
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So
I mean, but it gets me, because what the hell was that?
Ishii brought in his big ass thermos. So
Okay. But I was going to say, I bet she can back me up on it. The majority that the writers in Hollywood that edit the scripts have no life experience.
no, not in the
Mm-mm.
least. Until
I
they kill their girlfriend.
yeah, until they kill their girlfriend.
I mean, I've been thinking about it's like I rolled a car, so I know what that's like. I've crashed a
Mhm.
car, I know what that's like. I've been punched plenty of times, I know what that's like. And it's like, but when I was in college, I took a writing course and I had to drop out because oh god, I couldn't stand it. 3/4 of the class were writing either Harry Potter, Twilight,
God.
or Star Wars fan fiction for a fiction writing class.
Oh
I'm
my God,
sorry.
Kat, does this remind you of Friday night?
Yes.
And the teacher had written her own book, so that was a requirement for us to buy it.
Oh
And it
god.
Yeah,
was
that
the
is a scam that a
worst
lot of them
thing I'd
do.
ever read. It's the worst thing I've ever read. No. I've read online worse stuff. I read Agony and Pink, but
Agony and Pink.
Agony and
don't
pink.
look it up.
Okay, I won't.
Okay.
Do
Well, you got to
not look
justify
up.
why.
Why? Because it had just come out and everybody was
No,
linking
why
to
not
it.
to look at it?
It is Power Rangers torture porn.
Oh shit.
Speaking of, F in the chat for Jason David Frank, who died this weekend. Green Ranger, White
I
Ranger. He
heard
committed
about that.
suicide.
No, he committed suicide?
Yeah, I guess his
Oh,
wife had left
shit.
him and it fucked him up really bad.
Oh, poor guy.
And I guess he lived in Arizona.
Oh, damn.
That
No,
is
I had
sad.
like a total lady boner for him when I was younger. So
Me
the girls
fuck.
too.
did. All the girls
I was
did.
12 years old when I first saw him on the screen. I was like, he's cute.
Yeah.
Well,
Same.
at least it wasn't to an animated fox.
No, well, that's sad. No, so I wonder if this is up there with the Wrong Never Felt So Right book series. Janelle knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, fuck me.
Never
Oh my God.
read it.
Actually, you want to, I know we're supposed to talk about it with Catherine, but should we give a little info to Ralt to see what his reaction is?
Sure, let's hear it. I didn't listen to all of the Friday night one. I only listened to part of it.
We're gonna talk about it more in depth. But this woman, she got out there. She wrote her book series. I think she
Good
wrote
for her.
5 or 6 of them
Good
over
for
the
her.
course of about 11 years. They're all romances about Navy SEALs.
Oh no! Does he try to sell her sunglasses?
No. One's an NASCAR driver, Navy SEAL.
I don't even know if Navy SEAls can drive.
Well, they have boats, right?
Yeah.
But she murdered her husband.
But you forgot the most important. She was from Portland.
And she's
Oregon.
from Portland, Oregon. Yes.
You know,
And
I'm gonna ask. You know, did she have a reason? Like he had tentacles growing out of his head, or was it just standard?
there's a reason. About $800,000 worth of life insurance. She actually had the balls 2 days after he was shot to death in his the place that he founded his work. So he's an entrepreneur. He was actually a pillar of the community, and he was found shot to death in the building. 2 days later, she goes to the cops and says, "Hey, can you write me a note that says that I'm not a suspect because the insurance company won't give me the money unless they see that."
Yeah, this is what we're going to be talking about on Friday, the day after
Oh my
Thanksgiving.
We're gonna go over
God.
the books.
You got to tune in, Ralts. I think you're going to laugh your ass off.
Yeah, we're gonna go over the books and read them out loud because they're amazing.
Oh man, did any of you ever read My Immortal?
My Immortal. Oh, My Immortal. Oh,
I actually
Sounds
tried
familiar.
reading that, and it kind of grows on you after a while because
is
it's
that
just
the
so
Harry
crazy.
Potter one?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yes. I did not read it. I saw a little mini documentary on it.
It was wow. But yeah, so I was in a class where everybody wrote fan fiction, and there was like me and one other guy that were trying to write anything original. And you know, they have that every week. You read a chapter from your stuff, and it was like it was the literary equivalent of having somebody push their fingernails into my stomach.
Oh,
Somebody described wrecking a car as just a good solid jerk, and then the car flipped over and she opened the door and got out. I'm like, either the doors are open or they never open again. That's how it works with an auto wreck.
I'm looking it up right now, and it is considered the worst Harry Potter fan fiction, as well as one of the worst works of fan fiction ever written.
yes, that
Yeah.
is an accurate description. Yes.
I
It
kind
has
of
a
low key want to
certain
read it while I'm
charm.
shit faced.
Oh, do it. But it has a
Okay.
certain charm. It has a certain charm.
Well,
It's kind of nice.
God, when our car flipped, our car spun and then rolled 3 times and then landed on its side on the freeway. And did you have to kick out the window? How did we get out?
Man, you don't remember, do you?
No, I don't. I just remember I just remember being in the car and then standing on the side of the road.
The very nice people that hit us actually all ran out of their vehicle, turned us back over, asked us if we were okay, changed their tire, and got the hell out of there before the cops came.
Oh my
I do
god.
So
remember
long,
that.
suckers!
You know what? I do remember
Where
that
was
because
this?
I was taking pictures of their car, and the driver actually came over to me and said, "Hey, can do you think that I can get some of those for my insurance?"
And
This was on the 5 in
Oh,
between, oh God, Manchester and the off ramp to Point Loma, not Point Loma, that off ramp to Solana Beach.
Oh shit. Okay.
you got hit on the 5.
yeah, and then just to make it even more interesting, his insurance finally gave up and just gave us the money because he got sent out. He was with the Navy.
Yeah.
And he was on tour. It was like they didn't know when he was coming back.
Yeah.
We don't know when he's coming back. We'll
No,
just give
actually,
him
that was
money.
the problem. They did know when he was. I found out later.
Oh, really?
The Navy put him on a boat and sent him back.
Oh shit!
Oh.
Really?
It was a hit and run.
Yeah, they'll do that.
The MPs arrested him and sent him back to shore.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, I know, dude. Apparently, before we got deployed, he beat the shit out of his wife.
Oh.
And then the unit deployed, and he was all like, "Fuck that bitch!" And I told her she better be out of there by the time I get back. There ain't nothing she could do. I'm on the desert floor. Fuck that bitch, right? The MPs came and arrested him like a day and a half later. We're like,
God.
"So long, wife beater." And then we divvied up his stuff. Just
Then
fucking.
we took his shit.
You're goddamn right we did. He had soda and fucking Oreos and shit in his stuff. Mine now.
Wow.
I'd been there for months by the time the unit got there. I got there late August, early September. The unit didn't show up till November.
Oh,
It's like,
gee.
he's got Oreos. I haven't seen a real American Oreo in months. This is mine. But yeah, I mean, I almost hit somebody on the 5 one night. I was
What
coming back
happened?
from, I was coming back home. I was, I had about a 30-mile drive on I-5 to get home when I was in first time I was in college, and I'm
Mhm.
just flying down the road, and I'm with somebody, and all of a sudden she screams, "Oh my God, look out!" And I barely see it. It's this. I mean, we're going into Tumwater, and there's this woman in a black dress standing in the middle of the freeway with her arms outstretched.
Oh, shit.
I almost rolled the car. It was like, holy shit. And to this day, I have no idea what was that maniac doing there. Of course, out by Tumwater is weird because my wife had our daughter, and I drove home, and I almost hit Bigfoot.
Okay.
Elaborate.
I came
You can't
around the
just say
corner.
that.
Okay, so my wife has our daughter, and she's got to stay in the hospital with the baby, and we've been up forever because I stayed up with her the whole time, and I'd been working. Before I came home from work, and it wasn't the time that it wasn't the time where it was in the morning, and my wife went into labor, and she's like, "Yeah, my water doesn't break, but we need to go to the hospital," and then her water broke, and my daughter yells, "Mama peed on the floor!" It wasn't that time, it was the second daughter, the one that came out mad, and I'm driving home, and it's like 3 in the damn morning. It's dark, pitch black outside. And I'm driving this little beat up Chevette, and it was just a little piece of shit. And I got off of the I-5 at Tumwater, and I was driving the back roads. I think I was still north of Little Rock, and I come around the corner on this backwoods road, and there is this huge, hairy thing upright on 2 legs, staggering across the road. And I grab the e-brake and crank on it and crank the wheel, and I go sideways, and the car pulls around. I let go of the e-brake, so I'm going backwards. And I look at it as I go by, and it's looking at me, but and then I got the car stopped, and it gets into the bushes and vanishes. I know it was a bear, but at the moment I was looking, I was like, fucking Bigfoot made it, so I'm gonna roll my car on this backwoods shit.
So how do you collect that on your insurance?
Insurance? That sounds like for rich people. My insurance card at the time, this is how broke we were. I had a printer, and I scanned somebody's insurance card with a scanner, and I erased their name, and I erased the number, and I put in a random number. And then I put my name, and that was in my glove box.
Wow.
Because if I hit you, you're just fucked. 'Cause I didn't have insurance at the time. Are you kidding? Insurance was $40. That was an electrical bill back then.
We're talking early 90s, early to mid 90s.
Mid 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't afford that. That sounds like rich people stuff. But yeah, I almost hit Bigfoot. But to this day, I have no idea. Why was a bear on its back legs shambling across the road? I mean, did he think it would make him go faster? Was he emulating humans? Was he scaring the shit out of a hiker?
Maybe he got a hold of some fermented fruit.
Who knows? But I mean, it was the fact I was going backwards because I tried to do the bootlegger's turn and lost traction. So I'm going backwards as I go by him. And I'm thinking, this big hairy motherfucker just caused me to wreck. And now my wife's going to be like, great, Bigfoot killed my husband. The thing is, though, more people believe that it was Bigfoot than a bear. Everybody's like, there ain't no bears around this time of year. I'm like, there's a bear out there. Nah. Okay, I almost hit Bigfoot. Oh, man, my uncle saw Bigfoot one time when he was blind. Man, fuck you guys.
The Bigfoot thing, it confuses me. The last place on earth I ever thought I'd run into a huge group of people swearing there was Bigfoot was in Phoenix, Arizona. There are so many people that swear that there are Bigfoots in the superstitions. It's like, what the hell?
Where?
You got me.
How the fuck do you hide in the superstitions?
I don't know, but that's why there's all that Bigfoot shit when we go to the antique stores. Is because they swear that there are Bigfoots in the superstitions.
It's all rock.
I know. People think it.
Bigfoot's got his predator outfit. See, it's Bigfoot like on the $6 Million Man, not Bigfoot like everybody else thinks.
Yeah. I mean, if people said, "Oh, there's Bigfoots up in Prescott," it's like, okay, fine, I get that, but no, I think they're in superstitions.
It's just vertical rock. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to the superstitions.
I don't know. I'm confused too.
Weird.
Maybe they're in the abandoned mine shafts,
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
No. They're where's that? Kobola, the hidden city of gold. That's where he lives.
Goldfield.
Wherever that is. That was
Kobola. There's a abandoned gold town called Goldfield. But it was actually a huge scam. It was one of those things where like somebody sprinkled some pyrite and said, "Hey, look, there's gold here." And
you know how they used to do that? I actually had this old dude explain it to me one time in Texas. I was buying drinks and everything, and this really old guy told me that he used to run scams when he was in his 20s. And this guy looked like he was made of leather and barbed wire and like 9,000 years old.
Sweet.
And what they do is they take a shotgun and they'd remove the lead pellets and they'd put gold flakes in it. And they'd walk in and they'd shoot it around so it would embed the gold flakes in the rock. And it looks just like an actual gold mine. He's like, "Oh yeah, and them suckers from California would come out and buy those goddamn mines." He goes, "Half the time we didn't even own them."
Oh shit!
And the best thing was he was like, "Yep." And then after I left Arizona, New Mexico, I came to Texas and I bought myself a sheriff's badge. And we used to run whiskey from Oklahoma in the cop cars.
Shit.
I was thinking, God, old man, how are you not fucking hanging?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a trip. That was worth the money I spent listening to his stories because he had some good shit.
Oh, that's
He knew
great.
his wife was cheating. He knew his wife was cheating on him, so he took a can with a lid and he put a rattlesnake in it, and he set it at the corner of the bed. And when his wife was in there getting plowed, the motion opened the can and the rattlesnake came out all mad and killed them both. And he was like, "And I got away with it." Like, there's no statute of limitations on murder. And he goes, "She was a whore." My friend, we left. My friend's like, "Can you believe that old dude?" I said, that is the greatest old man in the history of America.
Yes. Damn.
I mean, who would have thought of ever putting a fucking rattlesnake in a coffee can?
Mm-mm.
And if she hadn't gone in there and been cheating, he just would have came and hugged that rattlesnake outside. But nope.
Yeah.
Fucking life is a trip.
Wow.
That was the best money I spent. That was great money.
And where was this again?
Texas.
Texas? Okay.
Yeah, we were out in West Texas, out by Fort Bliss, and this old dude was telling us stories for beer. And like my friend said, "Yeah, he probably didn't have that shit." I don't give a fuck. It was a boring ass night anyway, man. That old man kept me amused for 4 hours for like $20.
Wow. Actually, that is money well spent.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know. I was entertained. Yeah, he just caged beers off us and told us, and told us stories of being old and crooked. He'd do the same thing with silver mines. He said, "Now the real good money was the uranium mines."
Oh, shit.
I was like, "Well, how the fuck does that work?" He goes, "Well, they just come in with a Geiger counter. So you just sprinkle it around here and there." I'm like real uranium. He's like, "Oh, it's only going to hurt a sissy." I'm like, my friend's like, "How is this old man alive?" But they go in there and because you could buy you could actually buy literal uranium.
Yeah.
And he said him and his friends just go in there with the powder and just throw it around here and there. Or like drop it in little clusters, and they'd go in there and their Geiger counters start going off, and they'd sell it. They'd sell the mine because they'd be like, "Oh, we just don't have the money to keep going." And you put it heavier at the end of the shaft because it tricks the people's brains into thinking, if I just go a little further than they were able to, I'll get the money. He said it's just greed. And he's like, oh yeah, he goes, I sold mines in state parks, other people's property.
Shit.
Wow.
Geez, this is straight out of Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah, it is.
It just the old guy was like, he looked exactly like you'd expect him to look too. I mean, when he got up to go to the bathroom, I half expected him to have a 6-gun. I mean, my friend was actually, are you a little disappointed he doesn't have a 6-shooter? I'm like, yeah, I actually am. I mean, if he'd had a 6-shooter, I'd have been like, I gotta be dreaming. There's no way this is real. Somebody's yanking my chain. But yeah, that's how they used to do it, is shotguns. So there's your little bit of trivia.
That's good to know. No, I had heard that for stones, they'd like dig like 6 inches under the ground and like sprinkle them that way, and then just cover it up with like a little bit of dirt, and it's like, hey, look, I just found some rocks, But
Yeah.
I wondered how they did it with metal.
Yeah, the shotgun thing is really good because it embeds it in there and it looks natural because it's all straight. Because he said you just use dust or like little tiny bit. He's like, oh yeah, $20 worth of gold. You sell that mine for about $5,000, and then you go to Vegas.
Wow.
All right, should we call it a night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to Vegas where his favorite horror was.
Oh shit.
Jeez. Was it? Oh, I was trying to think. Was it the Spearmint Rhino, or was it the Bunny Ranch?
I have no idea.
It's not going to the Gold Nugget.
I'll bet he did.
All right, everyone. For a limited time, as you can see, the counter is counting down up above. You can get the Ralt minigun or vomit cannon t-shirt for a whole $13.
Mm-hmm.
Link in the description. And really, you want to get one of these.
You do want one of these.
I got one.
Actually bought mine during the show tonight.
Hey.
So I expect mine
cool.
within a couple of weeks.
Actually, their turnaround's been pretty good. I put in an order before we got this image last week, and I got them on Saturday. So
Yeah, I got mine today.
Oh, hey, that's great.
His wife's already stretched it out in the chest area. So now he needs another.
Nice.
Which is why I put female fit.
So, okay, well, we'll sign off now.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, good night, everybody. Take it easy.
And
coming up.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids.